The alarm bells rang through the huge glass halls of the Galactic Council building. Admiral Corvin ran as fast as his blue scaly legs could carry him. His heart was beating hard as he pushed through the big doors where all the alien leaders waited. "We have a big problem," Corvin said, breathing heavily. His voice shook as he spoke to the room full of different alien creatures. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few looked like walking crystals. Ambassador Thane, a tall purple alien with long arms like snakes, moved closer to hear better. "What kind of problem, Admiral?" Corvin pressed a button on his hand device. The air above them suddenly filled with moving pictures. Everyone could see a huge black ship floating in space near Earth. The ship was so big it made their largest warships look like tiny toys. But what was scary was not its size, it was how dark it looked. The ship seemed to eat up all the light around it. "The humans call it the UES Redemption," Corvin said. "But we think they are lying about what it really is." The aliens in the room started talking loudly to each other. Some were afraid, others were angry. Commander Zix from the Metal People stood up with his robot body making clicking sounds. "How do we know this is dangerous?" Commander Zix asked in his machine voice. Corvin looked down at his reports. His hands were shaking a little. 3 days ago we sent our best spy ship to take a closer look. It got close to the human ship and then, it was gone. No explosion, no warning message, nothing. It just stopped existing. "Maybe it had an accident," suggested Dr. Maya from the Plant People. Her flower-like face looked worried but hopeful. "That is what we thought too," Corvin replied. "So we sent another spy ship. Same thing happened. Then we sent 3 more ships together, thinking they would be safer. All 5 ships got within 1,000 Earth distance units of the human ship and then disappeared completely." The room became very quiet. Even the translator machines stopped making their usual humming sounds. Ambassador Thane's snake-like arms moved nervously. "Did the humans give any explanation?" Corvin nodded and pressed another button. A picture of a human man appeared in the air. He had gray hair and kind eyes, but something about his smile made the aliens feel uncomfortable. "This is Captain James Mitchell," Corvin explained. "When we asked him about our missing ships, he said he had no idea what happened to them. He claims the Redemption is just a normal patrol ship doing normal human business." "But you do not believe him," said General Vorth from the warrior clan. His 6 arms crossed over his chest. "Look at these readings," Corvin said, showing new pictures in the air. Numbers and graphs floated around them. "Our long-distance sensors show energy levels that should be impossible. The ship is using more power than some small suns. And the strangest part." He stopped talking and looked around the room. Every alien was waiting to hear what he would say next. "The strangest part is that our sensors say the ship is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. That should not be possible according to the laws of space and time." Dr. Maya made a sound like wind blowing through leaves. "Are you saying the humans have broken the basic rules of how the universe works?" "I am saying they have found a way around them," Corvin answered. "And that makes them very dangerous." Ambassador Thane moved to the center of the room. His voice was loud and clear. "What do our science experts say about this?" An old alien that looked like a walking tree stepped forward. This was Professor Elm, the smartest scientist in their part of the galaxy. "I have studied the data for 2 days," Professor Elm said in his slow, deep voice. "The energy signatures are unlike anything we have seen before. The humans appear to have technology that can change the basic structure of space itself." "Is that why our ships disappeared?" asked Commander Zix. Professor Elm's branch-like arms moved slowly. "I believe our ships did not crash or explode. I think they were moved somewhere else entirely. Perhaps to a different dimension or a different time." This made everyone start talking at once. The noise in the room grew very loud until Ambassador Thane called for quiet. "What do the humans want?" Thane asked. "Have they made any demands?" Corvin shook his head. "That is what makes this so strange. Captain Mitchell acts like nothing unusual is happening. When we ask about the missing ships, he looks confused. When we ask about his ship's power readings, he just smiles and says human technology works differently." "Maybe we should send a bigger fleet," suggested General Vorth. "If we show them our strength, they might tell us the truth." Professor Elm made a warning sound like creaking wood. "I would not recommend that. If the humans can make our ships disappear so easily, sending more ships might just give them more ships to make disappear." The room fell silent again as everyone thought about this. Ambassador Thane looked around at all the worried faces. "We need to decide what to do. The humans have built something that breaks the laws of physics. They are making our ships vanish without explanation. And they are acting like nothing is wrong. There is one more thing," Corvin said quietly. Our spies report that human merchant ships have stopped traveling through that area of space. It is like they know something we do not. Or they know something we should not, added Dr. Maya. The meeting was far from over, but one thing was clear to everyone in the room. Humanity had created something that scared even the most powerful species in the galaxy. And the worst part was that nobody knew what the humans planned to do with it. Captain James Mitchell stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars through the big front window. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm blue eyes. Even though 50 alien warships now surrounded his vessel, he looked as relaxed as if he was drinking morning coffee. "Captain," said Lieutenant Emma Thompson from her seat at the communications desk. She was a young woman with red hair tied back in a neat way. "Admiral Corvin is asking permission to come aboard. He wants to inspect our ship." Mitchell smiled a little. "Tell him yes. Give them full welcome honors. Make sure they feel safe." Lieutenant Thompson pressed some buttons and spoke into her microphone. "Admiral Corvin, you and your team are welcome aboard the UES Redemption. We will transport you to our main entrance hall." Within 1 hour, bright lights appeared in the ship's corridor and 6 aliens took shape. Admiral Corvin was there with his blue scales shining under the ship's lights. Ambassador Thane stood beside him, his purple tentacle arms moving nervously. Behind them were 4 other aliens from different species, all carrying small devices to scan and study everything they saw. Captain Mitchell walked forward to meet them. "Welcome aboard the Redemption. I hope your trip here was comfortable." Admiral Corvin looked around with his large yellow eyes. Something felt wrong, but he could not say what it was. The corridor they stood in seemed longer than it should be. From outside the ship looked big but not this big. "Thank you for allowing us aboard," Corvin said. "We hope you understand our concerns about your vessel." "Of course," Mitchell replied, starting to walk down the hallway. "Please follow me. I will show you around our ship." As they walked, Ambassador Thane noticed something very strange. The walls had windows, and through the windows he could see other corridors. But according to his memory of the ship's outside shape, those other corridors should not exist in that location. "Your ship has interesting design," Thane said carefully. "Our engineers like to be creative," Mitchell answered with that same small smile. They passed several human crew members walking in the opposite direction. But what made the aliens stop and stare was that some of these humans seemed to walk right through the solid walls like the walls were made of water. Dr. Maya from the plant people made a sound like rustling leaves. "How do your crew members pass through solid matter?" A young human woman nearby heard the question and laughed. "Oh, that's just the phase doors. They're really helpful when you're in a hurry." She then stepped sideways and disappeared through what looked like a perfectly normal wall. The aliens looked at each other with wide eyes. Their scanning devices were making strange beeping sounds, but the readings made no sense. They continued walking until they reached a large door marked Engineering Section. Captain Mitchell placed his hand on the door and it opened with a soft whoosh sound. "Here is our engine room," Mitchell said, stepping inside. The aliens followed him and then stopped moving completely. Their mouths dropped open and their scanning devices started making loud warning sounds. Instead of normal ship engines with pipes and wires, they saw what looked like a small galaxy floating in the middle of the room. Tiny stars sparkled and moved in slow circles. Small planets orbited around the stars and colorful clouds of space dust drifted between them. This is your power source?" Admiral Corvin whispered. A human man working at a control desk looked up and smiled. He had brown hair and friendly green eyes. "Hi there. I'm Chief Engineer Robert Hayes. And no, this little beauty isn't our main power source. This is just our backup generator." "Backup generator?" Ambassador Thane's tentacles went very stiff. "Yeah," Robert said, turning back to his controls. "The main engine is kept in a different dimension. Safer that way. We don't want it affecting normal space too much." Professor Elm, the tree-like alien, stepped closer to the floating galaxy. His branch arms were shaking. "Are those real stars and planets?" "Well, they're small ones," Robert explained like he was talking about the weather. "Each star is only about the size of a large building. The planets are even smaller. It's really just a basic stellar formation model." "A model?" Dr. Maya asked in a very quiet voice. "Sure. Our kids use these in school to learn about how solar systems work. This one was built by a 10-year-old girl named Sarah for her science project. She got an A+. The aliens stood in shocked silence. A child had created a working galaxy as a school project. Captain Mitchell seemed to enjoy their surprise. "Would you like to see our navigation room? Our junior officers designed some interesting improvements to standard space travel." They walked to another section of the ship. The navigation room had large screens showing maps of space, but these maps seemed to move and change on their own. Stars appeared and disappeared, and entire sections of space seemed to fold in half like pieces of paper. "How do you navigate through space that is folding?" asked Commander Zix in his machine voice. Lieutenant David Parker, a young man with black hair, looked up from his controls. "Oh, we don't navigate through folded space. We fold the space to bring our destination closer to us. It's much faster than flying the normal way." "You can fold space itself?" Professor Elm asked. "It's not that hard once you understand the math," Parker replied. "My little brother taught me the basics when I was 12. Admiral Corvin felt dizzy. Everything he thought he knew about science and technology was wrong. These humans were treating impossible things like they were simple everyday tasks. "I think we have seen enough," Corvin said slowly. Captain Mitchell nodded. "Of course. I hope this visit has answered your questions about our ship." But as the aliens prepared to leave, they all knew that they had more questions now than when they arrived. The humans were not just advanced, they seemed to live by completely different rules of reality. 3 days passed after the alien visit to the Redemption. Admiral Corvin sat in his command chair on his flagship, staring at the reports spread across his desk. His blue scales had turned a darker shade, which happened when he was very worried or angry. "The humans are making fools of us," he said to his officers. "They show us impossible things and then act like it is normal. They refuse to explain how their technology works." Captain Ricks, his second-in-command, nodded. "The Council is getting impatient. They want answers, not more mysteries." Admiral Corvin stood up and walked to the big window that showed space outside. In the distance he could see the dark shape of the human ship. It looked peaceful, but he knew better now. "Send a message to all fleet commanders," Corvin ordered. "Operation Star Wall begins in 2 hours. We will surround the human ship and demand they surrender for complete inspection." The message went out across space to over 300 alien warships. Ships from the metal people, the plant people, the crystal beings, and many others began moving into position. They formed a huge circle around the Redemption, with their weapons pointed at the human vessel. On the bridge of the Redemption, Captain Mitchell watched the alien ships getting closer. Lieutenant Emma Thompson looked nervous as she watched the weapon readings on her screen. "Captain," she said, "they have enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Should we prepare for battle?" Mitchell smiled calmly and shook his head. "No need for battle preparations, Lieutenant. But do send them a friendly warning." He pressed the communication button. "This is Captain James Mitchell to all alien vessels. I strongly suggest you maintain a safe distance of at least 3 solar systems. We are about to run a routine systems check on our defensive equipment." Admiral Corvin received the message on his ship and his scales turned almost black with anger. 3 solar systems? The human thinks he can threaten us? We have him surrounded. He opened communication to his entire fleet. "All ships, ignore the human warning. Move to attack formation. Prepare to disable their engines with minimum force." The alien fleet moved closer, forming tight battle groups around the Redemption. Energy weapons powered up and targeting systems locked onto the human ship. Captain Mitchell watched this happen with the same calm expression he always wore. "Lieutenant Parker," he said to his tactical officer, "please engage our defensive protocols. Set all safety parameters to maximum levels. We do not want to accidentally hurt anyone." Lieutenant David Parker, a young man with steady hands, began touching controls that seemed to exist in more than 3 normal directions. The control panel looked flat, but his fingers moved up and down and sideways in ways that hurt the eyes to watch. "Defensive grid is active, Captain," Parker reported. "Reality anchors are engaged. Dimensional barriers are holding steady." "Very good," Mitchell replied. "Commence systems check." The space around the Redemption began to change. It started slowly, like heat waves rising from hot ground on a summer day. But then the changes became more obvious and much more frightening. Admiral Corvin watched his main screen with growing horror. His targeting systems were showing something impossible. According to his computers, there were now 17 different Redemption ships in 17 different locations. But he could still see only one ship with his own eyes. "Admiral," his weapons officer called out, "our targeting computers are confused. They show multiple targets, but they are all the same ship." "Fire a warning shot," Corvin ordered. "Aim for empty space near their hull." The energy beam shot out from his flagship. But instead of traveling in a straight line like it should, the beam curved through space in a long loop. Corvin watched in shock as his own weapon fire came back toward his ship from a completely different direction. "Shields up," he yelled, but it was too late. His own warning shot hit his own ship's side, causing small damage to the hull. Across the alien fleet, similar things were happening. Ships found their weapons firing at what looked like perfect copies of themselves. Energy beams traveled through curved space and hit their own ships. Some captains reported that their sensors showed they were shooting at themselves from multiple directions at the same time. Captain Rix looked at his instruments with wide eyes. "Admiral, our sensors say we are in 7 different locations. Our targeting computer shows we are attacking ourselves, but we are also being attacked by ourselves." Admiral Corvin felt dizzy. How is this possible? On the Redemption's bridge, Lieutenant Parker was calmly adjusting his controls. "The mirror defense system is working perfectly, Captain. The attacking fleet is now fighting dimensional reflections of themselves." "Excellent," Mitchell replied. "And their actual ships?" "Safely relocated to Parallel Dimension 7, Parker answered. "They will continue their battle there until they figure out how to stop shooting at themselves. The dimensional barriers will keep them from returning until they cease hostile actions." Mitchell pressed his communication button again. "Admiral Corvin, can you hear me?" Corvin's confused voice came through the speakers. "Where are we? What have you done to us?" "Your fleet is currently in a parallel dimension where you are fighting mirror copies of yourselves," Mitchell explained patiently. "This will continue until you stop trying to attack us. When you are ready to talk peacefully, simply power down all weapons and the dimensional barrier will return you to normal space." "This is impossible," Corvin shouted. "Many things seem impossible until you understand the science behind them," Mitchell replied. "We learned this technology from our children's physics textbooks. It is really quite basic once you know the principles." The communication went quiet. In the parallel dimension, Admiral Corvin stared at his screens showing endless copies of his own fleet firing at each other in an eternal battle that could not be won. For the first time in his military career, he began to understand that humanity was playing by rules no other species had ever imagined existed. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was the largest in history. Representatives from over 200 different species filled the massive crystal chamber. Some sat in chairs, others floated in the air, and a few existed as pure energy patterns that glowed in special containers. Ambassador Thane stood at the center podium, his purple tentacle arms moving in distressed patterns. His voice echoed through the chamber as he spoke to the crowd of worried alien faces. "Fellow beings," he began, "we face a crisis unlike any in our recorded history. The human vessel called the Redemption has demonstrated abilities that threaten the very nature of reality itself." Angry voices rose from the crowd. General Vorth of the warrior clan stood up on his 6 legs, his 4 arms waving in the air. "Where is Admiral Corvin's fleet?" he demanded. 3 days have passed since they entered that cursed dimension. Are they alive or dead? Professor Elm, the ancient tree-like scientist, creaked as he moved to speak. His voice was slow and sad. "Our best dimensional physicists report that Admiral Corvin's fleet still exists, but they are trapped in what we can only call a reality loop. They continue to fight endless copies of themselves in a battle that cannot end." Dr. Maya from the plant people made a sound like wind through dying leaves. "How many ships were lost?" 317 vessels, Thane replied. "The entire joint fleet. But they were not destroyed. They were relocated." Commander Zix of the metal people stood up, his robot body making clicking sounds. "What else can this human ship do? Our reports make no sense." Ambassador Thane activated the holographic display above the chamber. Images and data filled the air around them, showing impossible energy readings and scientific measurements that broke known laws of physics. "According to our observations," Thane explained, "the Redemption can manipulate time itself. They can slow it down, speed it up, or even reverse it in small areas around their ship." Gasps and fearful sounds came from the audience. "They can also convert any type of matter directly into pure energy with perfect efficiency. One small piece of space dust could power their ship for 1,000 years." More worried voices filled the chamber. "And perhaps most frightening of all," Thane continued, "our long-range sensors detected the ship communicating with other versions of itself across multiple parallel dimensions. They appear to have access to infinite copies of their vessel from alternate realities." The chamber fell completely silent. Even the translator devices stopped their humming sounds. Council leader Zorth, an ancient being made of living crystal, spoke in a voice like breaking glass. "Are you telling us that the humans have one ship that is actually many ships across many different realities?" Professor Elm nodded his branch-like head. "That appears to be correct. When we attacked one Redemption, We may have actually attacked all possible versions of the redemption at the same time. Dr. Kess from the gas people, whose body looked like a cloud of green mist, floated higher in the chamber. What do the humans want? Have they made any demands? That is the most disturbing part, Thane replied. They want nothing. Captain Mitchell continues to act as if his ship is completely normal. When we ask about our missing fleet, he politely explains that they will return when they stop attacking his ship. General Vorth slammed one of his fists on his chair. This is madness. They have taken our entire fleet hostage and act like it is a minor inconvenience. Not hostage, corrected Professor Elm. From what we understand, our fleet can return to normal space at any time. They simply need to power down all weapons and stop fighting. But they refuse to do this. Commander Zix made mechanical calculating sounds. Why will they not stop fighting? Pride, answered Ambassador Thane sadly. Admiral Corvin believes that stopping the attack would mean surrendering to the humans. Council Leader Zortha's crystal body flashed with different colors as she thought. We must make a decision. This human ship represents a threat to the stability of space and time itself. I agree, said Dr. Maya. If they can move entire fleets to other dimensions, what stops them from moving entire planets? Or entire solar systems? Or entire species, added General Vorth in a dark voice. The chamber erupted in frightened discussions. Representatives whispered to each other in dozens of different languages. The translator devices worked overtime to keep up with all the conversations. Ambassador Thane called for order. We have a proposal from the Emergency Council. The human vessel Redemption must be declared a banned ship. It will be forbidden from entering any civilized space in our galaxy. But how do we enforce this ban? Asked Dr. Kess. Our weapons cannot touch them. Our fleets disappear when they get too close. We cannot enforce it, Thane admitted. We can only hope that the humans will respect our decision and leave peacefully. The voting began immediately. One by one each species cast their vote. The result was unanimous. Every single species voted to ban the Redemption from civilized space. As the vote ended, something impossible happened. Captain Mitchell's voice suddenly filled the chamber, though no communication devices were active. Greetings, Galactic Council, his calm voice said. I hope you are all having a pleasant day. Security officers ran to their control panels, trying to find the source of the transmission. But their instruments showed nothing. We have been monitoring your discussion, Mitchell continued, and we understand your concerns about our ship. We never intended to cause alarm or disruption to galactic peace. Ambassador Thane found his voice. Captain Mitchell, how are you communicating with us? Our chambers are completely secure. Mitchell's voice carried a hint of amusement. Your security systems are very impressive. Unfortunately, they were designed to work in only 3 dimensions. What do you want? Council Leader Zorth demanded. Simply to inform you that the Redemption will depart immediately for the edge of the galaxy. We will not trouble civilized space again. Your missing fleet will be returned to normal space once we are far enough away. The transmission ended as suddenly as it had begun, leaving the council members staring at each other in amazement and fear. They had just banned the most powerful ship in known history, and the humans had accepted their decision with polite understanding. But somehow this made them even more frightened than before. Captain James Mitchell stood alone on the bridge of the Redemption as his ship prepared to leave the galaxy forever. The view screen showed the edge of known space ahead, where no civilized species had ever traveled. Behind him, thousands of light years away, the Galactic Council waited to see if their missing fleet would return safely. Captain, Lieutenant Emma Thompson said from her communication station, we are receiving one final request from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Thane is asking to speak with you before we cross into unknown space. Mitchell nodded slowly. Put him through, Lieutenant. I think these people deserve to understand what really happened here. The main screen flickered and showed the crystal chamber of the Galactic Council. Hundreds of alien faces looked back at him, some curious, others still frightened. Ambassador Thane stepped forward, his purple tentacles moving nervously. Captain Mitchell, Thane began, before you leave forever we need to know the truth. What is the Redemption really? Why did you build such a powerful warship? Mitchell smiled, but this time his smile was sad rather than mysterious. Ambassador Thane, you and your council have been operating under a serious misunderstanding from the very beginning. He turned to look out at the stars for a moment, then faced the camera again. The UES Redemption is not a warship. It never was a warship. We did not build it to fight anyone or to threaten galactic peace. General Vorth of the warrior clan stood up angrily. Then what is it? Why does it have such impossible power? It is a school bus, Mitchell replied calmly. The entire Galactic Council chamber fell completely silent. For several seconds no one moved or spoke. Even the translator devices seemed confused. Ambassador Thane was the first to find his voice. A school bus. That is correct, Mitchell nodded. The Redemption is a field trip vessel for the Terra Academy Elementary Physics program. The crew you met are not soldiers. They are teachers and safety supervisors. Dr. Maya from the plant people made a sound like leaves rustling in a storm. The children you mentioned, are they real? Very real, Mitchell replied. Right now there are 47 students aboard this ship, ages 6 to 12. They are on an educational journey to study dimensional physics and reality manipulation. Professor Elm, the ancient tree-like scientist, creaked forward. The impossible technologies we observed are standard learning tools for human children, Mitchell finished. What you called our defensive systems are actually safety equipment designed to protect curious young minds while they practice their lessons. He gestured toward something off-screen. Rebecca Turner, age 8, built the mirror defense system that trapped your fleet. It was her science fair project on parallel dimension theory. She got an A+ from her teacher. Commander Zix's robot body made shocked clicking sounds. An 8-year-old child created technology that defeated our entire fleet? She was very proud of her work, Mitchell said. Though she was worried when she realized grown-ups were stuck in her mirror maze. She wanted to let you out immediately, but I told her it was important for you to learn to stop fighting before she turned off her project. The council members looked at each other with expressions of pure horror. The energy source we saw, Admiral Corvin's voice came through the communication system. He had apparently been returned to normal space with his fleet. The small galaxy in your engine room? Built by 10-year-old Michael Johnson during art class, Mitchell explained. He was learning about stellar formation. His teacher helped him make sure the tiny stars were safe and would not explode. Art class. Ambassador Thane whispered. Human children learn physics through play and creativity, Mitchell said. By age 12, most of them can fold space-time, manipulate matter at the atomic level, and communicate across dimensional barriers. It is just part of growing up human. Council leader Zortha's crystal body flashed rapidly through different colors. If this is what your children can do, what can your adult scientists accomplish? Mitchell's expression became more serious. That is not a question you want answered, Council leader. Human adults tend to think much bigger than children do. He paused to let this sink in. The Redemption was built by our elementary school maintenance department. They needed something safe and reliable to transport young students who might accidentally create black holes or open portals to other dimensions while doing their homework. Dr. Kest, the gas cloud being, floated higher in worry. What about your military? Your actual warships? We do not have warships in the way you understand them, Mitchell replied. Humans learned long ago that violence is inefficient. Why fight when you can simply convince reality to be more cooperative? The camera view shifted slightly, and the council could see children playing in the background. A young girl was casually juggling what appeared to be small planets while a boy nearby was drawing pictures that moved and came to life on the paper. But now that you have asked us to leave, Mitchell continued, perhaps you should know what comes next. The Redemption was just our kindergarten program. Our teenage students are currently working on their graduation projects. His smile returned, but now it made the alien council members feel cold with fear. 15-year-old Sarah Chin just finished building what she calls a universe pocket. 17-year-old David Park has been experimenting with what happens when you teach physics to work backwards. And 18-year-old Lisa Williams? Well, she has been very interested in meeting other galactic civilizations. The communication began to fade as the Redemption moved farther away. Goodbye, Galactic Council, Mitchell said. I hope you have learned something valuable from this experience. And remember, we only sent our youngest students to meet you. Next time you might encounter our teenagers. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in absolute silence. Every alien representative sat frozen, realizing they had just made contact with a species where children could reshape reality as easily as playing with toys. And somewhere in human space, teenage students were finishing projects that would make the Redemption look like a simple toy boat.